Dream warrior, ain't gonna dream no more. I'm a dream warrior.
Recorded live from the dungeon, this is the Dream Warrior Review, and I'm Kurt Thomas.
And coming at you live from the hills of Tennessee,
I'm Mick Strawn.
Mick Strawn.
In the twilight of the 1950s, on one fateful night in New Mexico, young switchboard operator Faye and charismatic radio DJ Everett discover a strange audio frequency that could change their small town and their future forever. Is that good?
It is.
Okay.
It's great. And I really, really enjoyed this film. I really did. And it kind of reminded me of a story. I think it was Ellison wrote a story many years ago about it was actually a play, and he wrote a story about creatures that were doing an experiment of taking over a small town. And he said all you have to do is flick a few, and at the very end, they have these people out running around just absolutely going crazy, and eventually they're shooting each other in the streets, and most of them are dead. And then you see the two characters in a spaceship, that are obviously alien, sort of a Spielberg-esque kind of alien, and they're just talking about how you just make a few of the radios go crazy, and a few flashing lights, and everybody goes crazy, right?
Yeah.
And it reminded me of that.
Yeah. Well, this was definitely a Twilight Zone. I also reminded
it was absolutely a Twilight Zone.
Reminded me a little bit of that too.
Yeah.
And Dan Earth stood still. I kept coming up with all these things. I was like, oh yeah, that reminds me of this.
Right.
The Twilight Zone thing. I did have a couple things I didn't really like that I don't know. I always have complaints. But wasn't the music a little bit 1960s vibe-ish? And this was set in the 50s, so I was kind of confused on...
It was set in I think the time at the very beginning was supposed to be like 1961.
Okay. But the music they were playing was a little bit more like late 60s. It was a little bit off, I think, if I'm thinking of the right music.
Well, yeah, but was it like known music?
No, it was just kind of the rockabilly kind of...
Yeah, it was
boots
kind
are made for walking kind of...
Yeah, it was kind of... Yeah, but I think it was all created. It wasn't...
Right.
We weren't actually using any music of the period.
Right, yeah, it was totally created.
Yeah.
But I thought it was corny, like the opening part where they did the TV. I thought it was really corny. And I was like, okay, they did it once. It kind of was a cool way to start the movie off. But then they started using it again and again. And I'm like, it kind of halted everything. Like,
what were they using the TV for?
They were using it like the Twilight Zone TV. Like they were in an episode of the Twilight Zone.
Oh, yeah.
And they brought it back a couple times.
Right.
It kind of halted everything, but it ruined it for me a little bit.
That didn't bother me at all. I think that kind of broke it up a little bit.
You think so? Well, I think it broke it up too much is my point. Like, plus this should have been a 30 minutes short, not a hour long.
But I don't have the ability to pay that much attention for any period of time. What were we talking about?
This would have been a great, well, speaking of that, this would have been a great short. And I had a problem with the dialogue. It was way too heavy and too much of it. And I think I love the tone. I love how this thing looked. I love the tone of it. I like how it was shot. Yeah. I like everything about it. I just thought it was too long and the guy talked too much.
The things that I liked about it is that it suspended your disbelief. It made you believe in something without proof. So basically, it was an exercise in faith, in a way, and
this is early sci-fi. It like takes you along with you on the ride.
Right?
You go on the ride. It's all human. It's a human story, basically.
And there's I kind of like the way that there was like no actual twist to it, except for maybe provided by the woman, the woman.
The old lady.
Yeah. I kind of liked what I liked about that was how the end of that interaction kind of went a little bit off the rails, you know? And you were like, oh, okay, that's
I like how
cool.
it wasn't expected. I didn't expect what they did.
I didn't expect. Because there was something that she was trying so hard to convince, you know, and it was really. And I realized that she had convinced me.
No, I was convinced with her.
It completely sucked in, right? You know, ready to go, and then of course it turns weird. But there's something about the running across town and the kinetic energy of it.
Oh, I love that. I love that part. I actually looked it up. I looked it up to find out how they shot that. And they're like, we took a go-kart and we attached the camera to it 3 inches from the ground, and we just drove around.
Right. Yeah. It looked great. And the thing is the way they slid into those shots was not with a cut.
Right.
It was like they just optically slid into that shot, or they probably just dropped the camera on the cart and took off. Yeah. Right. And then somebody on the other end just picked it up.
Well, it's like the
off the
shot
cart
with the gymnasium where they're driving into the gymnasium.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
That was a great part.
And you could almost tell that they dropped the camera on the cart, the cart went into the gymnasium, and then at the very end of it, somebody picked the camera up. And they just kept on going, right?
Right, yeah.
Because the camera was.
But how cool was that?
Great.
That was really well done, because I was like, that's the only way they could have done it was actually pick up the camera.
But you know what's great though is that that started back. I remember that there in the rock videos when rock videos were really chugging out like
what's rock?
Between. Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, between 85 and 95, you had a lot of rock videos.
The Whitesnake years.
Yeah, the Whitesnake years. Yeah, otherwise known as. And the thing is in that period, I remember working on some of the rock videos, and there was always, you were always trying to do something different with the camera, right? You know, because you wanted your rock video to like either be, like the production design was like of a particular. The thing is, you can do very flat things. You could do like black and white sets, with color people in them or something like that, because you only have 3 minutes, right? So you don't have to explain it, and you don't have to explain it. But I remember one particular one that I worked on, and I can't remember who it was or what, but the whole video was just us trying to get a camera built. We built sets, and you saw both sides of them, and we were always transferring it from one condor to the other. Like a condor would, go up and sweep across the stage, and then come down, and then follow somebody across the street. And as the condor swept down like this, and we had the camera was in front of the basket, right? And it was on a little boom out, and just sitting there, and somebody would grab it. And you have to remember that these cameras were pretty heavy back then.
Oh yeah.
And somebody would grab it and start running with it, and then it would go, and you were trying to do it in one shot and stuff like that. And we just really, it was like everything that you could do with the camera, just keep it moving around. And these days, it's all done with drones and stuff like that. But I do love I did love the thing is, a drone can only go so far close to the ground,
right?
Because as it starts kicking up dust, right? Yeah. And so that trick of actually putting it on something and then picking it up, it must be at least a little bit easier, because the cameras can't weigh 70 pounds. Right.
Well, I was wondering what kind of cameras they used too, because it did have that kind of grainy look to it, the low light, and the gymnasium was really blown out.
Yeah.
The outside looked like vengeance, didn't it? The lighting?
It did. it did.
I was like, was dust in there?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really love the movement around town, and the cars coming in and out of the cars, and yeah, it was just it was like a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
It was done, but
Well,
it was a good trick.
I really like that pony, but yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was a good trick.
I mean, I did like how the actors. I love the actors, by the way, and I like the dialogue. I just thought it was a little heavy on the dialogue. And it could have been a little bit more room to breathe, I guess, and maybe a lot shorter, like a little bit more of a climax, because it kind of just abruptly ended.
Yeah, but I kind of like the way that it was more of a collection of the townspeople.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just it sort of had that. Trying to think of
but it's mostly their voices, though.
Yeah, it became the character of their voices. Splitting in between the phone and coming off of the using the devices that bring in the rest of the world for them, which was the phone and the radio.
Yeah. Well, my question is, there's one guy that calls in that I think if he lived in the town, he wouldn't have to explain what he looked like because it's such a small town.
Right.
So I don't know where he was calling from. Unless he was just passing by on the highway or something. I don't know.
And there was also a military base out there, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. This is all part of a military base. I kept expecting somebody to come up with a military uniform somewhere,
right?
or to see a Jeep drive into town or something.
Well, one thing I liked about this was that I was expecting. What I really appreciated was there wasn't any like cliche sci-fi really.
Yeah. No, there wasn't.
And they just paid tribute to old sci-fi, like basically the old style sci-fi where you're just kind of telling a story about humans and how they would interact with, something that happens like this.
I often say that the film that motion pictures aren't about dialogue. They're
right.
about the movement and visual. And
look at Jordan Downey's Headhunter. Yeah.
Well, the thing is this was a perfect example of it. Even though it's 90% dialogue is important to it. The thing that makes it interesting is the movement of the cameras and watching what's going on and the characters and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. What was that movie we were talking about before we started recording?
Hey man, it's Dave Made a Maze, man.
The puppet one?
Oh.
Hey man, it's Dave Made a Maze.
It's like looking at it. But anyway, it's like that movie.
Yeah, like that. No, it's like that.
Dave Made a Maze, man.
Oh, I gotta see where. It's just like that.
Man, like I told you, dude, it's Dave Made a Maze.
Right. I don't know what we're talking about. Moments ago.
There was some good humor in there too, because I like when they're talking about phones and how you know your friend's dead.
Yeah.
I guess I'm dead all the time, I guess. Anyway.
I kind of like the like I'm gonna all these people trying to get out of this dead town,
right?
And I've always thought that to myself, having lived in a couple of dead towns like that, going, you get out of this dead town. How do we get out of this dead town?
I did think, I don't know. I guess I did in a way. I kind of got out of it a couple times because I felt like it looked like a really, really good student film. And I was like reminded of when I was in Tallahassee, Florida, and they would show the student films. I think it was, I can't remember what night it was, Friday or Saturday night. And, but this is a really high quality student film, though. I mean, well, I'm not trying to knock it by saying that. I'm just saying that they were experimenting in a lot of ways.
Well, they're experimenting with a very limited palette. That's
and limited budget. Yes.
Yeah, and limited budget, and they did a great job. I would have to give this a 3.2. Go see it.
I actually give it a little bit more.
Yeah,
I'm kind of like a high 3. I'm probably 3.7 actually, like a little bit.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I mean, like I said, the acting was great. The dialogue was.
Absolutely.
I liked how it was shot. I liked how it was so simple. They didn't try to overcomplicate it, which that's what made it beautiful.
It didn't have any real hook in the story anywhere.
Right.
It had a couple of
which could have made it crash and burn easily.
Yeah, but it did have a couple of nice little twists that I really appreciated. Some that you don't appreciate until the very end, and you go, oh.
The old lady, though, I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway.
the old lady. That's
Says a lot about the younger generation.
Well,
Those darn baby boomers? Or wait, were they baby boomers? Yeah. No, not yet. Were they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they would have been. No, not yet, because
they would have been.
They were in their 20 or late.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely, they were baby.
Yeah, I guess
boomers.
they were. Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
It says a lot about those baby boomers.
Yeah. Those were early baby boomers, baby.
Right.
Baby boomer, baby. Ribby.
Ribby.